They laughed when she showed up in a silver windbreaker. Private Kemp called it Ladies' Day at the range. What he didn't know, her name was Leona Voss, Widow Mark herself, the myth, the ghost, the operative who brought entire teams home from suicide missions. The scanner screamed. His smirk vanished. Stick around. Because when legends walk quietly, fools get filmed loudly. They thought she was just a civilian. They were dead wrong, and now the whole world's watching the moment he learned what real strength looks like. Curious about our global audience. Let us know where you're watching from and what time it is. Remember to subscribe for more content. Private James Kemp strides across the sun-baked firing range each step, radiating the cocky authority he's cultivated over 3 years of service. His polished officer's coin catches the morning light as he flips it between his fingers, a habit that's become his trademark of superiority. The other recruits laugh on cue at his running commentary, just as they always do. That's when Private James Kemp spots her, a slight figure in a silver windbreaker approaching with quiet purpose. Something about her measured steps should give him pause, but the laughter of his squad eggs him on. He grips his coin tighter, drawing strength from its familiar weight. "Hey, sweetheart." Private James Kemp calls out, his voice carrying across the range with practiced condescension. "Ladies' self-defense class is next door. This here's where the real soldiers train." The words taste like victory on his tongue, sweet with the power to diminish others. The woman doesn't break stride. The rangemaster steps forward, scanner in hand, standard procedure for civilian visitors. Private James Kemp smirks, already composing his next barb. Then the scanner hits her credentials and wails a harsh red alert that freezes his blood. The rangemaster's face drains of color. "Widow Mark," he whispers, and Private James Kemp's world tilts sideways. Every boot camp ghost story, every whispered legend of the operative who could kill a man 18 different ways with her bare hands, they all crystallize in the form of this woman he just mocked. Private James Kemp's fingers go numb around his coin. Its weight, once comforting, now feels like an anchor dragging him down. Rifle fire echoes in the distance, each crack making him flinch as Leona Voss, Widow Mark herself, turns her gaze upon him. "Perhaps," she says, voice soft as a blade against silk, "you'd care to demonstrate these real soldier skills you're so proud of?" The challenge in her eyes promises lessons written in bruises and broken pride. The security cameras were capturing every excruciating second. Private James Kemp knows with sick certainty that his moment of supreme arrogance will live forever online. Already phones are rising around the range, hungry to document his fall. What does it mean to be a soldier? The question echoes in Private James Kemp's mind as he stares at his reflection in his officer's coin. All his life he's judged worth by the most superficial measures: size, gender, the ability to intimidate. Now facing Widow Mark's lethal grace, he realizes how little he truly understands about strength. Inner reflection. Every morning I've polished this coin until I could see myself in it, believing that reflection showed a real soldier. But what if everything I've used to measure worth, including my own, has been wrong? How many others have I misjudged, thinking my badge of authority gave me the right? Within hours, Dr. Widow Mark trends across social media. The security footage spreads like wildfire, his sneering face a cautionary tale about prejudice and pride. Private James Kemp's coin sits heavy in his pocket, no longer a symbol of power, but a weight of shame that grows with every share and retweet. Type humbled if you've ever had your assumptions shattered by someone you underestimated. The morning sun still glints off Private James Kemp's boots, but now it feels like a spotlight, exposing every flaw in his carefully constructed facade of superiority. As Widow Mark takes her position on the range, he realizes with growing dread that his real training is about to begin. Private James Kemp's fingers trembled as they danced across the classified terminal's keyboard, the harsh glow of the archive room's fluorescent lights casting accusatory shadows across his face. His earlier mockery of Leona Voss felt like acid in his throat, now burning deeper with each new document he uncovered about Widow Mark's Wolf Echo team. 0 casualties, he whispered to himself, the words feeling impossible. 90% predicted death rates, and she brought everyone home. The officer's coin on his desk caught the light as it spun a nervous habit he'd developed since the incident at the range. The same coin he'd been flipping when he'd made those stupid jokes about women in combat. Intelligence reports filled his screen: Operation Ghost Hawk, Operation Silent Storm, Operation Midnight Echo. Each mission seemed more impossible than the last, yet all bore the same outcome. Mission accomplished, 0 team casualties. And at the center of every report, Technique 7, Ghost Pattern Widow Mark's signature strategy that had become whispered legend among Special Forces operators. In the mess hall, later that evening, Private James Kemp found himself drawn to a corner table where veterans of previous deployments gathered. Their hushed conversations carried fragments of stories he'd never heard before. "Remember Belgrade?" one grizzled sergeant whispered. "The whole city was a kill box, but Wolf Echo walked right through it like ghosts." James Kemp's stomach churned. He'd been there earlier today, running his mouth about how women couldn't handle high-stress combat situations. Now the evidence of his ignorance was overwhelming, crushing his previously unshakable worldview. The officer's coin spun again, faster this time, almost frantic. The classified records had revealed something else, something that made his earlier behavior even more shameful. Widow Mark had developed her ghost pattern after losing her entire family in a terrorist attack. She'd transformed personal tragedy into a methodology that saved countless lives. "Have you seen how the brass talks about her in the classified briefs?" Another veteran's voice dropped even lower. "They call her the Mission Impossible Specialist. When everyone else says no go, they send in Wolf Echo." Private James Kemp's hand closed around his coin, stopping its spin. The cold metal pressed against his palm like a judgment. Everything he'd believed about strength, about leadership, about who belonged in combat, it all seemed childish, now embarrassingly simplistic. In the archive room's artificial twilight, surrounded by the soft hum of computers cataloging humanity's deadliest moments, James Kemp faced an uncomfortable truth. His prejudices weren't just wrong. They were dangerous. They were the kind of thinking that got people killed in the field. Type humbled if you've ever had your worldview shattered, flashed across his mind, remembering how confidently he'd spouted his opinions just hours ago. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, a constant reminder of his vigil in this sterile room of truth. Other soldiers came and went, some nodding in recognition of the transformation they saw taking place. They'd all been there, that moment when the military stripped away their preconceptions and rebuilt them from the ground up. Private James Kemp's fingers traced the edge of his coin one last time before pocketing it. There would be no more casual flipping, no more easy dismissals of others' capabilities. The weight of truth was too heavy now, the evidence too clear. His world hadn't just shifted. It had been completely dismantled. As night fell outside the archive room's windowless walls, James Kemp continued reading each new report, another nail in the coffin of his former beliefs. The question that haunted him wasn't just about Widow Mark anymore. It was about how many other incredible operators he might have dismissed, how many potential allies he might have alienated with his narrow-minded assumptions. Have you ever realized your whole understanding of strength was wrong? The question echoed in his mind. As he closed the last file, the screen's glow reflecting off his haunted expression. Tomorrow he would have to face Widow Mark again at training. Tomorrow he would have to carry the weight of knowing exactly how wrong he'd been. The archive room's door closed behind him with a final decisive click. Private James Kemp stepped into the corridor, a changed man leaving behind the comfortable ignorance of his past beliefs. Ahead, lay the harder path of reconstructing his world-view piece by humbling peace. James Kemp's fingers trace the edges of his officer's coin, the metal burning against his skin like an accusation. The afternoon sun streaming through his office window feels harsh and unforgiving, much like the truth he's been forced to confront. His throat tightens as he watches the view count climb on the viral video of his earlier mockery, now overlaid with newly surfaced footage of Leona Voss, Widow Mark, leading impossible extraction missions in territories he'd only read about in classified briefs. The coin slips from his trembling fingers, clattering against his desk, with a sound that echoes his crumbling authority. 6 hours since the revelation, and already 3 separate commanding officers have requested clarification meetings about his conduct. His inbox floods with messages from fellow officers, their tone shifting from casual camaraderie to cold professionalism. The whispers in the hallways fall silent when he passes. Sir Lieutenant Chen appears at his doorway, her usual warmth replaced by careful neutrality. The footage from Training Range C has been requested for review by Central Command. Her eyes flicker to the coin on his desk before meeting his gaze. They're particularly interested in your commentary about operative capabilities. James Kemp's stomach lurches. Central Command. The same authority that had authorized Widow Mark's classified operations. The same command structure that had watched her sacrifice everything while he had stood in his pristine uniform, passing judgment. The weight of their scrutiny presses down on his shoulders like a physical force. A helicopter thunders overhead, its rotors cutting through the air with mechanical precision. Each beat matches the rhythm of his racing heart as he remembers his words, "Some broken-down range rat." The phrase echoes in his mind, mocking him with every rotation of those blades. Somewhere in that same sky she had dangled from similar helicopters, pulling wounded soldiers to safety, while bullets traced deadly patterns around her. His computer pings with another notification. The base's internal message board explodes with first-hand accounts from soldiers who'd served alongside Widow Mark. Stories of her carrying wounded men twice her size through enemy fire of her returning to hot zones to retrieve fallen comrades when others had deemed it impossible. Each new post drives the knife of shame deeper into his gut. "Have you seen this, sir?" A young corporal appears tablet in hand, displaying security footage from 12 years ago. The timestamp matches the day of her last official mission. The grainy video shows a figure, Leona Voss, sprinting through gunfire, shielding a wounded soldier with her own body. The footage ends with a massive explosion, the same one that had forced her into isolation. James Kemp's hands shake as he dismisses the corporal. He reaches for his coin again but stops his reflection in its polished surface, accusing him of every assumption, every sneer, every moment of unearned superiority. The hashtag #CheerWidowMarkLives trends on military forums, accompanied by his own image, forever immortalized as the officer who dared to mock a legend. The base commander's secretary appears next, her expression grave. "Colonel Waters requests your presence, sir. Immediately." The word "sir" carries none of its usual respect. In the growing dusk, James Kemp stands at attention outside the commander's office, his officer's coin a leaden weight in his pocket. Through the window, he watches another helicopter take off its searchlight, cutting through the gathering darkness. He imagines Leona Voss in countless similar moments, heading into danger, while officers like him sat in judgment, never knowing the true cost of service. The base's evening bugle call sounds its mournful notes, carrying a new meaning. As the last echoes fade, James Kemp realizes that in trying to diminish Leona Voss, he has only succeeded in diminishing himself. His empire of presumption crumbles like ash in the wind, leaving him to face the consequences of his arrogance in the harsh light of truth. Drop a 1 if you've ever misjudged someone who deserved your respect instead. Private James Kemp stares at his reflection in the polished surface of his officer's coin. his fingers trembling slightly as they trace the embossed insignia. The same hands that had mockingly mimicked Leona Voss's stance just yesterday now feel heavy with shame. The base's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across his face, making him look older, more haunted. Through the window of his barracks, he watches Leona. No widow mark, walking across the parade ground, her bearing as precise as her legendary marksmanship. The morning sun catches the single brass round she wears on a chain, the memorial to fallen comrades that he had once sneered at. His throat tightens. "Sir, the reinstatement ceremony is scheduled for 0900. Private Thompson says from the doorway, but James barely registers the words. His attention is fixed on the formal documents spread across his desk, transfer request forms that would take him far from his comfortable position to a high-risk rescue unit. The base PA system crackles to life, its familiar static preceding the day's announcements. But instead of listening, James finds himself reaching for his officer's coin one last time. The metal catches the light, reminding him of that final shot she took on the range. A shot that had silenced every doubter, himself included. "Have you seen this?" Thompson holds up his phone, showing a viral video from yesterday's range session. The hashtag #ChuckYouWidowMarkLives is trending, with millions sharing the moment when she revealed her identity. James watches his own stunned face in the background of the frame, his previous arrogance captured for posterity. Type honor if you've ever had to swallow your pride and choose a harder, better path. His fingers close around the coin as he stands, decision made. The sharp crack of Leona's final shot still echoes in his mind. Not just a demonstration of skill, but a lesson in humility and purpose. She had refused the honors and reinstatement offered by command, choosing instead to continue her quiet mission of saving lives. Walking purposefully towards the administration building, James rehearses the words he'll use to explain his transfer request. Each step takes him further from the glory-seeking officer he'd been, closer to the kind of soldier he now wants to become. The weight of his coin, soon to be surrendered, reminds him that true service requires sacrifice, not spectacle. The morning formation begins assembling outside boots, striking concrete in perfect rhythm. But James takes a different path toward a future where he'll measure success not in medals or recognition, but in lives saved and service rendered. His empire of ego crumbles with each step, and somehow he's never felt stronger. Share this moment if you believe in the power of transformation and second chances. Choose service. The base PA system fades to silence, but James's purpose rings clear. He will learn to serve without seeking glory, to save without requiring recognition. As he pushes open the administration building's door, the coin in his pocket serves its final purpose, a reminder of the man he's leaving behind. James Kemp stares at the officer's coin in his palm, its once gleaming surface now dulled by his countless nervous rotations. The weight of it feels different now, heavier with meaning, lighter with purpose. 24 hours ago, this coin had been his shield, his justification, his armor of arrogance. Now it represents everything he needs to leave behind. The empty training range stretches before him, in the pre-dawn light, the same space where his world turned upside down. James Kemp's fingers trace the edge of the coin one last time, remembering how he'd flashed it so proudly, so mockingly at Leona Voss. Widow Mark. The name still sends shivers down his spine. "I was wrong about everything," James Kemp whispers to the empty air, his voice carrying the raw edge of transformation. So spectacularly completely wrong. The morning news plays on his phone. Another story about yesterday's events. His own face appears briefly captured in that moment of devastating realization. The hashtag #JourKempLearns continues trending, but for the first time since it started, he doesn't flinch from it. The comments beneath the video range from scathing to supportive, all watching his journey from tormentor to student. James Kemp approaches the Rangemaster's desk each step, echoing with newfound humility. The sound is different now, no longer the cocky stride of a man who thought rank meant worth. He places the coin down carefully, positioning the handwritten note beside it. For the next one who needs to learn this lesson. His hand lingers on the desk's surface, remembering Leona Voss's words from yesterday. Strength isn't about who you can push down, Private Kemp. It's about who you can lift up. The security camera in the corner blinks its red light, the same one that captured his transformation. James Kemp straightens his uniform, no longer preening, but ensuring it honors what it represents. The morning sun catches his name tag, and for the first time, he hopes it will become a symbol of change rather than shame. Type transform in the comments if you've ever had to completely rebuild who you are. He says aloud, imagining the countless viewers who will witness this moment. Because sometimes our greatest mistakes lead to our most important missions. James Kemp takes one final look at the training range. The targets still stand where they did yesterday, but he sees them differently now, not as proof of superiority, but as reminders of growth. His application for the rescue unit training sits completed in his pocket, Leona Voss's signature of recommendation bold across the bottom. The morning bugle calls in the distance as James Kemp steps out into the new day. His coin stays behind a small bronze beacon for the next person who needs to learn that true strength lives in humility, that real valor doesn't need an audience, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is admit you were wrong. Share this video if you believe in second chances, he whispers, knowing his story will echo far beyond these walls. Because tomorrow's heroes might be today's students learning the same lesson I did, true greatness isn't in never falling, but in how we rise after we fall. James Kemp's boots mark a steady rhythm on the concrete as he walks away each step, carrying him further from who he was and closer to who he's becoming. Behind him, the morning sun catches the coin on the desk, turning it into a beacon of hope for the next person who needs to learn that lesson about strength, about valor, about humanity. The security camera captures his final exit, its red light blinking steadily. One chapter ends, another begins, and somewhere in the distance, Widow Mark's legacy continues through the changed heart of Private James Kemp. Remember to subscribe to see more stories of transformation. His voice carries one last time. Because sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who teach us how to be better than we are.